Have you ever had a gut feeling about something and later realized you were right? Or maybe you noticed that you were really stressed or anxious, your stomach starts to act up, you're having diarrhea, you're having loose stools, or maybe you're constipated. Maybe you're bloated. Well, it's not your imagination and you're not crazy. Your gut and brain are in constant communication and in conversation. And in today's episode, I'm super excited because we're diving into the gut brain connection. We're going to explore how your microbiome, the trillions of bacteria in your gut, directly influence your mood, your mental health, and even how resilient you are to stress. I'm very excited about this episode because there's some fascinating research around the gut brain connection that we're now seeing more and more of. And it's actually often a topic that I discuss with my clients because a lot of them with skin issues, with gut issues, the root causes for a lot of my clients are linked to the mind. I've had other episodes that talk about the gut brain skin connection, about mindset, but today we're going to really dive into the science and the research. And so by the end of the episode, my hope is for you to understand the connection between the gut and the brain. Of course, I know a lot of you who listen to this podcast have skin issues, have eczema or TSW, or maybe you don't. Maybe you have chronic gut issues or you have chronic inflammation of some sort. This episode is going to be really helpful because it's going to show you that a lot of the symptoms that you might be experiencing goes beyond what you eat, goes beyond the supplements that you take, goes beyond the exercise and your lifestyle, and it goes into exactly how your microbes are affecting your mental health and your mood. So without further ado, let's get into today's episode. So what exactly is the gut-brain axis? Scientifically speaking, it's the bidirectional communication between your gut and your brain, meaning they're constantly sending signals from each other, from the brain to the gut and from the gut to the brain. Now, this connection actually involves three main pathways: your nervous system, your immune system, and the chemical messengers that are produced by your gut microbes. Now, let's talk about this specific communication. It actually happens between something called the vagus nerve. Think of this nerve as the highway between your brain and your gut, particularly the brainstem. Now, like a highway, there's always cars driving up and down in opposite directions, similarly to the chemical messengers in between the brain and the gut. That can influence everything at the gut level, which is your digestion, your metabolism, how you're generally feeling at the gut level. And at the brain level, it's your mood, your emotions, and your stress response as well. Your gut microbiome also produces metabolites. The one that we know that has been studied extensively is short-chain fatty acids. Short-chain fatty acids are produced when the gut microbes ferment fiber. So when you get fiber in your diet, your gut microbiome produces something called short-chain fatty acids. Short-chain fatty acids have been shown in research to modulate inflammation, to strengthen your immune system. And now we know that with chronic inflammation that is caused by the lack of short-chain fatty acids is closely linked to anxiety, depression, and general cognitive decline, which is why I always talk about how important it is to include lots of fiber in your diet. Most people are deficient in fiber because we're just not focusing enough on vegetables, fruit, beans, and legumes in our diet, but you need fiber in order for your gut microbes to produce short-chain fatty acids, which in turn helps to modulate inflammation. And beyond short-chain fatty acids, your gut microbes also produce neurotransmitters and hormones, specifically serotonin, which we'll talk about, but these neurotransmitters and hormones directly affect how you feel. So if you ever found yourself saying, I feel it in my gut, or I trust my gut intuition, there's actually real biological truth to that. So now that you understand the gut-brain axis and how your microbiome does play a crucial role in your brain's function, mental health, and mood, let's talk about the fascinating research that has really come out in the past few years, and it's emerging. The gut microbiome, mental health, mood, even skin, eczema, chronic inflammation, it's all very fascinating and it's emerging. So we're still learning. There's still so much to learn, but it's exciting to see really interesting connections between the gut microbiome and all of the systems in the body. Okay, so I mentioned serotonin. Serotonin is a neurotransmitter often called a happiness chemical. It's actually produced in the gut, not in the brain. In the old traditional way of thinking, we used to think, oh, if you are a happy person, that means it comes from the brain. But it actually, 90% of the happy chemical is produced in the gut. So when we're looking at someone's mood and mental health, we want to look at the gut microbiome, because if 90% of the happiness chemical is produced in the gut, if your gut microbiome is imbalanced, or you have pathogenic bacteria, or you have dysbiosis going on, then you're not producing sufficient amounts of serotonin that's going to positively impact your mood. And there's certain gut bacteria like Enterococcus and Streptococcus, which actually help to regulate serotonin production. If you're someone listening right now and you do experience low mood or anxiety, it's not just in the mind, it's looking at the gut microbiome and seeing where the bacteria levels are at. And this is why I highly suggest doing a GI map, because GI map looks at these bacteria. It looks like Enterococcus, Streptococcus, other bacteria we'll talk about as well, commensals and pathogenic, because when we see that there's an imbalance happening at the gut, we not only notice symptoms in the gut for a lot of people, or symptoms on the skin like eczema, but we also see symptoms in the mind like low mood and anxiety. Now, beyond serotonin, there are also other neurotransmitters like GABA and dopamine. GABA is the calming chemical in the brain, so it promotes relaxation by calming down brain signals. Dopamine, on the other hand, is the feel-good chemical. It's the chemical that's involved in reward and motivation. Interestingly, there are certain bacteria, and I'm sure a lot of you heard of these bacteria before, Lactobacillus and Bifidobacterium. They produce GABA. And so if these bacteria are depleted, your body may struggle to regulate your nervous system effectively. Now, this isn't just woo-woo stuff. There's actually really good research, recent ones that have come out, and I want to go through two of them with you. A study published in 2025 this year in the journal Nature called The Probiotic-Mediated Modulation of Gut Microbiome in Students Exposed to Academic Stress, a randomized controlled trial. In this randomized controlled trial, which by the way, this is the gold standard when it comes to research studies, one group of the university students took a probiotic drink containing Lactobacillus rhamnosus, which is a type of bacteria, while the control group took a non-fermented milk drink. The group of students who took the probiotic drink took 1 billion CFU of Lactobacillus rhamnosus twice daily for 4 weeks, and this was a part of the methods. And the control group took a non-fermented milk product, so it didn't contain any probiotics in that one. What they found was that the students who took the probiotic had lower anxieties during their exams, and their gut microbiome stayed more stable compared to the control group. This suggests that probiotics can actually help protect the gut and your mood during stressful times. Another 2025 review published in Nutrients pulled together multiple studies on the gut microbiome and anxiety. This one is called The Impact of Gut Microbiota on the Development of Anxiety Symptoms, a Narrative Review. They basically pulled together multiple research studies on gut microbiota and anxiety, and what they found is that people with anxiety tend to have lower microbial diversity compared to people who don't, especially in certain bacteria like Lactobacillus, Bifidobacterium, and Faecalibacterium prausnitzii, which is interesting because we know that Lactobacillus and Bifidobacterium produces the neurotransmitter GABA, which helps to lower stress and anxiety. At the same time, they also found that people with anxiety have higher levels of pro-inflammatory bacteria. And also what we know about gut intestinal permeability or leaky gut, when there's gut imbalance, there's going to be more inflammation, and these inflammatory molecules from bad bacteria enter the bloodstream, which then affects the brain. And of course, over time, when there's this consistent inflammation, that will make anxiety symptoms worse and overall affect emotional balance. Now, of course, right now I'm just talking about the gut-brain axis, but remember, when it comes to leaky gut and the gut microbiome, it's not just affecting your mood and mind. Maybe you don't have mood symptoms, maybe you don't have any anxiety, but you're experiencing symptoms in other areas, whether it's your skin, your gut, your energy levels. It's all interconnected. So I just want to reiterate that because I don't want you guys to think that, okay, my gut microbiome must be very healthy because I don't have mood symptoms, but really looking at your body as a whole, seeing if there's inflammation showing up in a different way. So, that being said, the science is becoming clearer and clearer on why a healthy, diverse microbiome really helps to support your mental health and can contribute to anxiety and depression when you have imbalance or dysbiosis. Now, we're not going to finish off the episode without sharing with you guys practical strategies to support your gut brain axis. First and foremost, we want to nurture the gut microbiome, and we do that through diet and lifestyle. When we're looking at your nutrition, you want to make sure you're getting a good quality source of fiber and prebiotics. Most of this comes from vegetables and fruit, and prebiotics are found in mostly all fruits and vegetables, but they're particularly high in garlic, onions, asparagus, oats, and bananas, for example. These help to nourish the bacteria and produce short chain fatty acids, which is what we talked about. They're the metabolites that help to modulate inflammation. It's always helpful to include fermented foods into your diet. That could look like yogurt, kefir, sauerkraut. I'm a big fan of sauerkraut. I can just eat it straight from the jar. Kimchi or miso if you have access to that. And these sort of foods help to increase microbial diversity, which is what we want to help protect our gut and our brain. I've been talking a lot about eating polyphenol-rich foods. Actually, in the last episode, if you haven't checked it out yet, that's a whole episode all about why polyphenols are so important for your gut microbiome and for inflammation. But you do want to start to look at including polyphenol-rich foods into your diet. These are the foods that are rich in color, like berries, for example, but you can also find them in chocolate, green tea, and coffee. Within moderation when it comes to eating chocolate and coffee, but they do contain polyphenols. I think this one is going to be an obvious one, but manage your stress. I just want to mention we are not taking away stress because stress we cannot just get rid of. It's about building your resilience to stress. When you build your resilience to stress at the gut and mind level, you're going to start to notice that you're less irritable, and the day-to-day stress that used to really affect you, you notice that you get better at responding to it. And that's really important for your gut microbiome because if you have chronic stress that's unmanaged, that's going to affect the integrity of your gut lining, the bacteria in your gut, causing more of that dysbiosis pattern. It's going to shut down your digestion as well and suppress your stomach acid. And we need sufficient stomach acid to keep pathogens out of our gut. And so managing your stress on a daily basis is really critical when it comes to nurturing the gut-brain axis, but not only the gut-brain axis, your whole body in general. You can do things like deep breathing, which is actually the one recommendation I would suggest for those of you who are really busy, and I know a lot of you guys are, is practicing deep breathing 5 minutes a day. Everybody has time for that. There's more than enough research that talks about how breath work, even just taking a few deep breaths, can help to lower your cortisol. You need at least 7 to 9 hours of sleep, good quality sleep every night, if you want to have a healthy body and to support your gut and brain and skin and all the things. I know a lot of you do struggle with sleep because of your skin. Maybe you're itching at night, high anxiety, stress. If you feel like sleep is a huge issue because of a certain reason like itching, we would love to support you and get to the root cause of that. Usually with sleep issues, there's a deeper root cause. And so we want to start exploring and addressing that, and sleep will start to improve. It is a difficult thing to improve, especially when you've had chronic sleep issues all your life, but we can really help you get to the root cause of that. A lot of the times people just take a sleeping pill or melatonin or Atarax or something to help them with sleep, but not really figuring out, okay, what is driving the inability to sleep? Is it overthinking? Is it your gut-brain axis? Is it the gut microbiome? So it's really looking deeper into that. But anyways, part of the tip when it comes to nurturing your gut-brain axis is prioritizing sleep as best as you can. If you can't get to sleep, it's looking deeper, working with somebody to help you figure out why that's the case. All right. That was a lot of information, but I wanted to wrap up this episode. If you're someone who is feeling anxious, low, brain fog, mentally drained, remember that it's not just in your head, it could be happening in your gut. So adding these small changes that we talked about, more fiber, polyphenol-rich foods, managing your stress, supporting your microbial diversity, are all going to make a difference how you feel both mentally and physically. If you love this episode, make sure you share it with a friend who may be feeling stressed or anxious. And if you haven't already, make sure you subscribe to our channel, whether it's on YouTube you're watching this or on Spotify and Apple iTunes. We release episodes every single week on various topics. The title of this podcast is the Eczema Warrior Podcast, but we talk about gut health, diet, mind-body connection, the gut-brain connection. Even if you're not struggling with skin issues and you just want general support when it comes to your health and nutrition, then make sure you subscribe so you get notifications for our weekly episodes. Thanks so much for tuning in, and we will see you in the next episode.